I'm Mr. MegaManFan, this is Genesis Does, and that is Last Battle. What an epic title, Last Battle. Makes me think of John Tron saying, Final man, that must mean the last one. Oh wait, he's not. I'm getting sick and tired of this. But I'm not sick and tired of Genesis Does. I appreciate all of you watching each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. And today we have quite a tale. You'll need brains as well as brawn. You are Irzak, a renegade with a dream to free your people from oppression. But are you good enough to outsmart layers of Lavernus, battalions of beasts, and scores of demons? You must be to defeat this last battle. Look at this beautiful cartridge and manual inside. To be honest, this is another one of those Genesis games that, until I decided to profile it for this series, I forgot I even had it. And you can tell by how immaculate the condition is. It really hasn't been used all that much. It is also known as Legend of the Final Hero, or in Japan, it is known as Shin Sekamatsu Kyushu Densetsu Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star, the new legend of the post-apocalyptic messiah. So yes, apparently this is part of the Fist of the North Star series. I do have a few other Fist of the North Star games, but you wouldn't know this is Fist of the North Star from playing the localized North American version. And look here, A, B, C, and start to continue for Legend ... Hero. So thanks to whoever left that note in the instruction manual for me. It doesn't make the manual perfect anymore, but it does make it more useful. Look at how fast this scroll is going for the opening cutscene of the game. If this was on a teleprompter, I don't think you could keep up with it. Let me just try, just for the heck of it. After a fierce battle, Irzak was able to defeat Grom. However, in the midst of the fighting, Alyssa was taken by his captors to no other location. In a quest to find Alyssa, Irzak and his brother Gross forced to fight his brother. Luckily, good triumphed over evil. Irzak was able to restore Gross' memory. However, there was one last battle yet to be fought. Superior Legacy of the Crater Jiquendo. After much... See, you can't do it. It's going way too fast. Unless you're that Micro Machines guy who can just read 1,000 words a minute, or maybe the rapper Twista, I don't think you could possibly narrate that whole thing without slowing it down to about 10%. Anyway, Last Battle, or Fist of the North Star, or many of a million other things. It had several different ports, none to Nintendo, which is why we can call this Genesis Does, but it did come out on Commodore Amiga and Commodore 64. That's interesting. You'd think they'd do one or the other, not both. But on Mega Drive and Genesis, it came out July 1st, 1989 in Japan, August 14th of the same year in the United States. But in the European Union, it was not out till September of 1990. Look at the way these enemies just fly when you hit them. I know Irzak is supposed to be a strong martial artist, or apparently the protagonist of Fist of the North Star, depending on what you want to consider him. But holy crap, I mean, it's like you shoved TNT up their ass and lit the fuse. They just go, whoo! They take off like a rocket. You have to jump up and kick them, and even when you do, they don't just fall down when you kick them, they just go flying! Wow! That is one powerful dude. Irzak, you're something else. So, yes, in the original version in Japan, he was called Kenshiro. Fist of the North Star, that is the titular character. Not to be confused with the Japanese pro boxer named Ken Shiro. So, in that story, Kenshiro is the rightful successor of an ancient art of assassination called Hokuto Shinken, which allows Kenshiro to defeat his adversaries through use of hidden meridian points. Through the original manga, Kenshiro fights against various ruffians who threaten the lives of the post-apocalyptic survivors. Man, I don't think I ever picked up on any of that from my Japanese Game Boy Fist of the North Star game. Yeah, I guess being able to read those katakana characters would probably help. And Tango says hello. So let's just stick with the North American explanation of what Erzak is doing. Why they chose the name Erzak over Kenshiro, I'll never know, because Kenshiro, yes, Tango, I hear you. Kenshiro would have actually been a much easier name to say, pronounce, and understand. Erzak, save the world. I am the only one who can save this world. Well, isn't he pretentious? So, the game is divided into 4 stages with several levels. As you can see from this map, you can choose which level to go to next. So, there is a bit of variety to the gameplay. You don't have to follow a linear path. I don't know which path is the best path, because obviously I have very little memory of having played Last Battle, so any branching path I take is just a best guess. This list of localizations is quite frankly annoying me to the point that I wish I had the Japanese version of the game. I might have to download the ROM and play it that way on my analog Mega SG instead, because just looking at the name changes from Fist of the North Star to Last Battle, it's really starting to bother me. Kenshiro was renamed Erzak, Lynn, Alyssa, Bat Max, Mamiya to Louisa, Ein to Gare, Asuka to Anne. Boy, just tell Kana-chan that from Asuka in WWE. She would probably be really annoyed that they renamed the character Anne. Buzz Harn is a much cooler name than Z. Gil Harn is even better than B. And Solia got changed to Sid. I could go on and on. It's an amazing list of name changes, all in an effort to westernize the game. And even in 1989, I would think there were enough anime and manga fans that you wouldn't really have to do that. What sort of reception did it get back in the day, though? Well, I can only find one review, and it scores it a meager 32%, panned by critics and gamers alike according to Wikipedia, for stiff controls, poor dialogue, and no continues. Although according to the instruction manual, you can continue, so apparently the Wikipedia editors didn't know that, and the person who owned this game did. In fact, Megatech placed it number 2 in their list of the 10 worst Mega Drive games of all time. Honestly, it's not that bad. It's a bit comical watching these enemies fly away from you like you just filled them up with some sort of nitrous explosive, but apparently that's part of the localization too, because blood and gore were edited out of the North American version. Now that's really making me want to play the Japanese version, because apparently in the original, their heads explode and blood flies everywhere. You definitely don't get that in Last Battle. Well, it is what it is. I guess they just didn't know that anime would be as popular in the late 1990s, 20s, 2010s, 2020s. But still, Galaxy Express 999 was way before this, and Lupin the Third was way before this. Dragon Ball was before this. I would dispute that there was no audience for anime or manga. Maybe Fist of the North Star wasn't super well known, but I'm betting it wasn't unknown. What is unknown is how I make progression from this point forward. I kind of find myself getting into a dead end here. And then what I finally realized is I shouldn't just be jumping over these boxes. I should actually be climbing up the boxes and using those to ascend to another area. At first, I thought I had to punch or kick my way out of this scenario, and when rocks started falling on my head, I was like, great, I'm going to break this down and I'm going to pass through it. But no matter how much I kicked, I was getting nowhere. So then I had to backtrack eventually and go up. So maybe this is why the game gets criticized for stiff controls, poor dialogue, and overall negative gameplay, because it's not exactly clear how you make progression. They don't show you with arrows like, oh, go here. You just kind of have to guess your way around. It reminds me of Angry Video Game Nerd playing that Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero game on Nintendo 64, where he was complaining about how cryptic it was that you'd have to jump in certain areas and it wouldn't tell you where those areas were. You just had to take your best guess at how to make progression from one area to the next. So maybe the game designers for both games were exactly the same. Who did design this anyway? Let's see. The director was Katsuhiro Hasegawa. The designer was Yasushi Yamaguchi. The programmers were Tetsuo Matsuda, Hiroshi Momota, and the artists were Naoto Oshima and Yasushi Yamaguchi. So that's your team that's behind Fist of the North Star, aka Last Battle, aka Game Over, man. Game Over. So I'd forgotten what the continue code was, and I had to go look it up in the instruction manual. That turned out to be a problem because I think you have to hit that code right when you get the game over or you can't continue. Because I actually tried hitting it from the title screen to no avail. It starts me at the beginning of the game again instead of back where I was previously. And that really wasn't what I had in mind. I was hoping once you entered the code, it would just take you right back to where you were, and it doesn't do any such thing. So enter that code fast if you want to continue from the last place you were. Kind of a shame that they use a life bar with only one life and don't give you like even a continue in the game. Like you have to know the code to be able to continue. And here I am frantically trying to mash it in to go back to where I was, only to see it pause the game over and over again. So Last Battle isn't terrible, but I understand why critics weren't kind to it at the time. I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Thanks for watching.